welcome to my bedroom. I've got a lot of things that I want to talk about, so I'll just jump straight into it. First of all, I have actually just recently been offered a contract to work in Singapore again. So I'll be heading back to Singapore for a full month from mid-November until mid-December. I'll be performing in a kids show in a shopping centre and I'll be hosting it, which will be really fun, and I'm looking forward to that. And I've asked the company if I'm allowed to leave a bit earlier or arrive in Singapore a bit earlier so that I can do some travel. And they said that that's okay, which is great, which means I can get some really, really cheap travel in to some amazing destination, which is Cambodia. And I'm really looking forward to going there. I actually tried to go there when I went to Vietnam. I was going to do Vietnam and Cambodia, but I just ran out of time. So I'm looking forward to finally being able to go there and checking it out. I was going to make the video just about like this announcement, but that's not a lot of actual interesting, helpful content. I've noticed that a lot of my friends, people that I've worked with, or just people watching the video, they've asked me, Hannah, how do you manage to save so much money even though you've traveled so much? And the answer is, I have a lifetime experience of being a cheap person. No, I've learned a lot of good saving habits from my parents, and once you've done it a couple of times, it just becomes second nature. These kind of tips and things that I've told some of my friends, a lot of them didn't know that you could do this, so I am looking forward to sharing it with you all. Let's get started. So the first tip that I'll give you is make sure that before you even start looking for any kinds of things, go into Safari, the top right hand corner, and go new private window. And this makes sure that your identity is hidden on the internet, and it means that you won't get any annoying advertisements on Facebook about the hotels and the places that you're researching. But more importantly, the prices won't ever get hiked up at the last minute, because some websites, when they figure out what you're looking for online, they'll be able to use that information to hike the prices up just for you, to make sure that you get the highest price possible with them. I've seen some flights that I've nearly booked costing crazy amounts of money, and I nearly booked them by accident, and that was because I wasn't using a private window. From there, I used to use Skyscanner a lot when booking flights online, but recently I've just gone into Google Flights, and let me tell you why. Google Flights is my absolute favorite purely because there's just so many options that you can choose from. One of my favorite things about it is that at the moment I'm living halfway between Brisbane and the Gold Coast, roughly. So I can choose 2 different airports at the same time, which is wonderful, and it just chooses the cheapest flight from whichever airport is the best. Another thing that I really love is the Explore feature. I can choose dates. When you click here, suggested dates, and then from there it'll suggest a whole bunch of places that'll be cheap to fly on those dates. And you can find some really, really excellent deals. Like, look, Singapore, $292, not bad. So you can go to Los Angeles, return for $860, which is absolutely crazy. Granted, those dates are very close together, but there will be other options within that. Another thing you can do, you can add in the flights. Let's say I'm leaving this day. Generally, flights are cheaper on a Tuesday and a Wednesday. I found this to be true in the most cases. It's not always true, but generally those are the dates that I'll choose when I'm going to fly somewhere. So I can choose those dates and then go explore destinations. This is one of my favorite things, is all these little red dots. So I can go to Christchurch, $320, Auckland for $271, and it's quite a fun thing to do as well, because some of the places you literally have no idea about and you don't even know what's there, but the flights are cheap. So that's when I'll just hop onto Google Images and look for that place and then see what the general vibe of the place is and what there is to do there. You never know, you might find a really, really interesting destination that you've never even thought about going to. So this is a really fun feature. I really quite enjoy that. You can also choose a multitude of different things. I like doing multi-city. I've done that before a couple of times, where you just hop from city to city, and that's really fun. You can choose the price, the airline, roughly what time you want to arrive and depart. I know a lot of websites do offer this kind of thing, but I'm just going through it just to let you know that it's still here. So basically, that's why I love Google Flights the most. It's just got the most wide variety of options for flights to choose from, and I really, really love it. Highly recommend it to anyone. Another really cool cost-saving app that you can get is called I Know the Pilot. Unfortunately, it's only for Australians, but I'm sure there are similar apps in whatever your country is. Sometimes airlines just put up crazy cheap flights. This app will notify you exactly when it's happening, and so that you can book that flight at a really, really crazy cheap price, which is great. Another thing to take into consideration, kind of goes without saying, but for some places it might be cheap-ish to travel there, but actually everything in the country itself is really, really expensive. That's a really big thing to take into consideration with your budget and everything like that. All of this information is so easy to find online as well, so it's not hard to look up the cost of living or the cost of travel in certain areas, taking into consideration the food, accommodation, and public transportation and all of that. On to my next point, which is accommodation. I have heard lots of people use booking.com for accommodation. I prefer to use Agoda purely because I really like the layout on their app, but also they really seem to have much cheaper deals than on Booking. I found the same hotel in Booking and Agoda, same dates, everything like that, and it was remarkably more expensive on booking.com. So that was really interesting and kind of surprising. Obviously, Airbnb is another great option. Hostel World is a great app as well. I used that one in Vietnam. I stayed at the most incredible hostel in the mountains for $6 a night, which was ridiculous. And another option, I did this in Europe. I'm not sure if it's still a thing. It's called Couchsurfing. You've possibly heard of it. And I literally paid for no accommodation throughout my entire time in Europe. And I was there for like a month. Thinking back, I think I was like a bit of a crazy option. It's a huge community, Couchsurfing. You meet some really, really interesting people, and you get to see more of the local side of places rather than just the touristic side. And the best part is that obviously it's free. The one thing that I wasn't a fan of though is that at the end of the day, when you're just exhausted from exploring all day, I kind of didn't really want to make conversation with someone I didn't really know all that well. You just kind of want to go into a room and pass out, but you feel kind of in debt to your Couchsurfing host to strike up a conversation with them. And I'm a bit of an introvert, so that was hard. But definitely an option if you're young and you're feeling free and you just really want to save some money. Couchsurfing is a really cool concept, but also be very careful because I've heard some horror stories from all sorts of people on Couchsurfing. Definitely an option though, keep that in mind. Another, probably my last tip, I've done this a couple of times, you just pack less things and then you only need carry-on, which is great. I'm going to do that to go to Cambodia. It obviously depends on the person, depends what you need to take overseas, but I think if you're going on a budget, saving I think it's saving at least $20 per flight. It's worth it in the end to just only carry the things that you really need. And also it's really nice as well when you're going on holiday and you don't have to lug around this massive backpack or this giant suitcase. You can literally just have like a smaller backpack or a little small rolly suitcase, and it just makes your life seem so much more like free and easy. You have less things to lose, less things to worry about, and I really enjoy that. I only went carry-on to Japan, and I only went carry-on to Bali and Thailand and all of that. So it's totally doable, and it just makes your life so much easier, I think, and cheaper, which is good. And I think that's it for my advice, my cheap travel, last-minute adventure tips. So whatever the video's called, I don't know. I know some of these things kind of go without saying, a couple of them are general knowledge, but for some people that really don't have much clue or they're struggling to stay on the budget, I think that these tips hopefully have helped some of you, and I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If this is the first video of mine that you're watching, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Hannah, and I predominantly make videos about travel, but also expat life and being a performer. I used to be a performer at Universal Studios in Japan and then in Singapore, and fortunately enough for me, those jobs require me to travel, which is great, and it opens me up to so many more experiences, and I love sharing them with all of you on YouTube. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, if it's helpful in any way, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, please subscribe. Enjoy the adventure, and I will see you next time. Bye. Oh, also I got my hair cut. Bye.